Victor will try and pick lock.
Victor, you take out your thieves' tools. You start messing around inside the keyhole. And immediately you realize there's no mechanism inside to pick. It's just like the men said. There's not a mechanical lock to the door. The key is just there to trigger the magic that keeps the door sealed. However, as you are feeling around, you do feel a pin that feels like it could be a locking mechanism from a door. And it's only the man having said that there is no mechanism to pick that gives you pause. So you're holding your, there's nothing really to tension on, but you're holding your lockpick against what feels like a pin, and it's up to you whether you push that pin upward or not.
Yeah, Victor does not do that.
Okay.
Is it?
Pretty sure the door's got a trap on it,
It's
guys.
a trap.
So like, Victor and Jeannie, like, so like even I, like, so I agree with you, Victor. I think it's probably a trap, but these guys are so stupid that what if it's the key on the other side of the gate somehow?
Can we rig something up where we can I can position it and then we can pull it from a distance?
I radared the whole area. There's no key.
There's no key within 1,000 feet.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And like 1,000 feet would even reach down the cliff.
Yeah.
So
Was there ever a key? One of them threw it into the river. That's the only explanation.
That's the only other thing, yeah, that can possibly explain it all.
I really want to trigger it, but I don't want to die. Do you have like a telekinetic hand or something you could use to move it?
No, that's Ekon's job. We're not triggering the trap. We're not triggering the trap that Strahd put here to keep people out of his shit.
It's exactly why we should trigger it.
To the other four, and he says, and he's holding the sending stone in his hand, and he says, "Well, what's it going to be then?"
Well, so presumably they have guards out here for a reason. So maybe if we climb the roof, it's not horrifically trapped. But I don't know if I would bet money on that.
I think it's maybe okay to climb the roof. I mean, they don't seem like they'd anticipate that one.
Well, it's like 40 feet up, and there's supposed to be archers and stuff. There are supposed to be guards. It's not the gatehouse's fault that the guards lost the key to get into the guardhouse.
I don't think there's anyone in this gatehouse. I think these two are it.
Yeah.
I think so.
Out of character, I am absolutely willing to jump on this grenade.
I really want to summon Strahd, but
the grenade's in Jeannie's backpack.
No. The figurative grenade, not the literal grenade.
it is polite, noble custom to introduce oneself when entering a kingdom, right? So
yeah,
politeness dictates we should inform Strahd that we're here. But what if Strahd's not the one who summoned us?
That's what I was gonna say. What if Strahd's not the one that summoned us?
What if we just rat out the wrong people and suddenly we're responsible for the death of a bunch more families?
So,
I feel like you don't call Strahd voluntarily. You call that when there is no other option remaining. So
Strahd calls you.
Let's exhaust our options before we call Strahd.
Victor throws the rope up to try and get it to catch on the top.
Yeah, you lasso, let it fly with the grappling hook, and you give it a couple tugs, and you're fairly sure it's grabbed solid stone up there.
Let's stake my life on it and try to climb.
I mean, it's only a 40-foot drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, after a few moments, you hoist yourself up, standing on top of the gatehouse, and from here, you've got dark vision, yes?
Yes.
That would have worn off by now.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it wouldn't have.
It's 8 hours.
It was 8 hours, right?
Dark vision lasts forever.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can see the span of the bridge on the other side, but it's a fairly long bridge.
Looking down from the gatehouse, is there anything on the other side of the walkway?
From the roof of the gatehouse, you have access down into the gatehouse proper via trapdoor. And yeah, there's a walkway down to the southern edge as well. This would be a defensible position. If you were up here you could probably station a half dozen archers up here, and they could hold this pass for a long time.
Hey guys, I found a place to sleep for the night. Why don't you get in here?
Do we need to take a rest?
I mean, do we want a long rest?
Does anyone benefit from that? I guess Jeannie would.
I mean, yeah.
How you doing on resources, Jeannie?
I have one level 2 spell slot, one noble spell slot.
Do you want a long rest?
now we're fine.
Game when presumably Destil comes back next week. Will he have also been able to take the benefits of this long rest?
Are you trying to take a long rest? Is that the idea?
I don't need a long.
We're mulling it over. We're
Okay.
trying to decide
Yeah.
if we need it.
Yeah.
I don't think Destil used that many resources in the previous fight. It was
Oh,
Fair
mostly-
enough.
I thought he like gugged himself out.
No, Jeannie's the one who gugged herself out.
I've currently got 2 spell slots, which will let me. I can cast up to a level 2 spell, and then I can summon my turret. So
And then you're out of tricks.
Is everybody joining Victor inside of the gatehouse?
I'll go up and over, and then
Oh.
back down in.
The key's not on the other side of the lock, is it?
No, there's no key within 1,000 feet. So you guys are able to climb up to the roof of the gatehouse, go down the trapdoor into this just cramped little space inside, and there's a door at ground level leading out onto the bridge.
Orson, pull the rope up behind you.
Yeah.
he'll do that, and then give Victor his rope and grappling hook back.
We'll open the door and go out onto the bridge.
And as you guys step out onto the bridge, you hear a loud explosion from somewhere behind you on the other side of the door. And then after a few moments, trails of black smoke rise into the air from the direction of the tower.
I guess that wasn't its only bomb.
Where though? Because I searched that whole building.
They just blow themselves up.
Maybe they summon Strahd.
Yeah, maybe Strahd heard us. He could, if we're in his realm, he presumably could overhear any conversation he wants to.
I don't know.
He just
We
dropped a
don't know
meteor
that.
on them.
When I ran
We don't
Curse
know
of
that.
Strahd, we had a big initiative board, like a big whiteboard that we wrote initiative on, and every time we rolled initiative, I rolled for Strahd and put him on there. That
Did
was
he ever show up?
once or twice.
Sounds like something he'd do.
I guess if there's nothing aside from the crumbly bridge, Edmont's just going to start striding across.
Yeah, I think
we-
that problem just took care of itself.
So are we not taking a rest then?
No, I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
I also don't know that how I feel about hanging out in this abandoned gatehouse.
So there's a second gatehouse at the other side of the bridge. Looking off to your right, though, out onto the cliff, you see
Through here?
a large pavilion tent pitched in dark purples and reds. And as you approach the gatehouse emanating from the tent, you can hear a very high-pitched whistling or whining sound.
Should we take cover?
I'll
Is the
cross
gatehouse
through the-
open?
No, the
cross through
gatehouse
the
is
gatehouse.
has a closed door and the same magical keyhole as the first one had.
Try to push it open.
Then it doesn't budge.
I mean, up and out.
Go up to the top.
Edmont calls out, presenting the Duchess Evelyn Veritas of House Veritas.
And you do that. And Victor, when
Oh,
you climb
one
up the
shot.
ladder, up through the trapdoor, it's more or less the same structure, just facing the opposite direction now.
If I go to the south side, if I get any better idea what's going on in that tent.
Yeah, you can't see inside the tent because it's opaque canvas, but you can hear this high-pitched whistling or whining sound coming from the tent.
Victor will haul down to get everybody up so we can
Yeah.
go.
We're lowering a rope and climbing down, right?
Yeah, let's do it from the north side so it's not as close to the tent.
There's
Fair
another
enough.
path that continues to snake up the mountains, and as you get on the path, continuing on, you see that the flap of the pavilion is open, but there's no lights inside. But peering in, you can see several small comforts, accoutrements. There are a few chairs. There's 2 bedrolls laid out on the floor. In the center of the tent, you can feel the heat emanating in front of it. There's a small cook stove, upon which is sitting a kettle that is whistling away.
Hey guys, I found the save point.
This is the most suspicious thing I've ever seen.
Oh, we're totally gonna go inside and check it out though.
Yeah, I agreed. But here's the thing: is whoever set this kettle presumably should be coming back unless they've unless they've died out there somewhere.
Victor walks into the tent.
Okay. And not the most, I mean, it's definitely the most comfortable place you've seen on the mountain, for sure. But there's comfortable places to sit. There's bedrolls. There's some dry linens, a small set of cookery, and this kettle just whistling
Are there
away.
any plates or cups laid out?
Yeah, there's, I mean, the kind of cookery you'd have around like a campfire. Nothing ostentatious. But rummaging around, you smell fresh bread. You find some preserved fruits.
How many places does it look like it was set for?
No, there's none. It just
Okay.
looks like a collection of store that would be used around.
Okay.
Pop out of the tent, look around, see if there might be a trail or something that this tent's occupant might have left behind.
You just don't see a trail. There's light snowfall in and around the pavilion, but the gravel path, you don't see any tracks at all.
No tracks?
Other than the tracks you and your companions are leaving in the snow, you don't see anything obvious.
That's mildly distressing, but
Well, it might not be because the snow is relatively fresh. It may have only fallen in the last couple of hours.
okay.
Victor is going to start to eat some of the food and pack some away to take with him.
Okay, and it's not particularly noteworthy fare, but the bread is filling and the kettle is hot. You find a small store of coffee and little tin cups.
Yeah, Edmont will start pouring out coffee for everyone.
What are the girls doing?
Warm the bones, at least.
This is extremely suspicious.
Did she say that?
Yeah, he says,
Phoebe,
I would not expect this kind of hospitality in Barovia.
listen, Evie. It's obviously a trap, but you got to take the wins where you can get them.
In response,
enjoy the coffee.
Evie says this is not the kind of welcome we'd expect in Barovia. And you hear a man that you didn't notice sitting in the pavilion. You didn't notice him until now. And he says, you were speaking Darkanese?
Yeah, right. Or, well, to these guys, I was probably speaking for Niskin.
Okay. He responds in Darkanese then. And says, regretfully, you have been misinformed about the hospitality of Barovia. Please, take part.
Thank you.
Guy just sitting in here?
Yeah, you didn't notice him until just now. And I mean, the pavilion's not that big and there's nowhere for a man to hide. He's wearing richly colored finery, and he has a heavy winter cloak wrapped around him. And he's pale, and his eyes don't have pupils.
Victor will continue to eat food as if the man had been there the entire time, and when he gets a plate full, he'll walk over and sit down next to him.
Okay.
And ask, are you the one who invited us?
He tells you that he will dispense with the usual illusion and trickery. But yes, he has the pleasure of being Lord Strahd von Zarovic, ruler of Barovia.
God damn it, Edmund, what'd you do?
Orson begins skeptically partaking of the food, but after a couple bites out of this dry jerky, he just starts tearing into it.
Yeah, Edmont will start eating. Says, you certainly gave us a surprise.
So, question, where is the key?
What key?
There was never a key, was there?
For the gates.
I suppose those two men told you that their counterpart stole the key.
Correct.
The key was stolen, but not by either of them. I took it back from them when I realized their incompetence was too much for the task they had been given.
And you let them continue to live.
And he gives a curt nod.
Well,
Edmont reaches into his pocket, pulls out the sending stone, offers it to him, and says, I believe this belongs to you, then.
He holds up his hand and says, it's fake. It will not function the way that they told you it will.
did you?
I have more
Well-
important things to do with my knights than field questions from the animals at the gates.
Did you know about the Gug on the mountain?
At that, you see him pause for a moment. So I take it to mean then that my advance guard was not there to greet you.
We were greeted by something, all right.
There was a large. I'll describe the Gug to him, and it was eating. Tell him it was eating a large amount of undead flesh.
Then he confides that the undead flesh would have been his guard. Their job would have been to safely guide you up the mountain to this place, and that he thinks he has Aslan to thank for the Gug's appearance. They're foul creatures that subside on rotten flesh. This was one of the tricks Aslan used in a great war, now centuries past. Unfortunately, the Gugs still roam Barovia in some of the more hidden places.
What is the nature of your conflict with Aslan Rex? How did it start?
He shakes his head, holds up his hand, and says, "We don't have time enough for me to enumerate the sins and crimes that Aslan has perpetrated against me.
And what do you want from us?
Nothing. There is nothing you can offer me."
That it was not you who sent this message into our lands?
It was. My spies informed me of your experiences in Darkon. Initially, I had written you off, as I have so many, but you have survived a Darkonese winter, and you have defeated powerful opponents, and you have traversed the mists. I've also heard that you have befriended the Vistani. This intrigues me.
The Vistani are good people, but I don't think you invited us here just for lunch.
I am moved to share with you a piece of information.
Very well.
In return for...
In return for nothing, you have nothing that I want. Your life in Darkon, whatever you believe it to be, ends with your obliteration.
So, were you proposing we move to Barovia?
He shakes his head. Says if you were to come to Barovia, we would be at odds. We would be in conflict with each other. That would also end in your obliteration. But I would have the honor to do it face to face. I would not lie and scheme and trick you the way Aslan has. That is the difference between us.
Why is it that you believed that House Veritas needed allies against Aslan Rex?
Because House Veritas has power. Aslan is drawn to it, like a moth to a flame. He knew it the moment you entered Darkon. If he's anything like me, he would have manipulated the mists to send you tests, which, had you failed, would have killed you. In which case you would have been of no consequence to him, and he could have moved on to other plots and schemes, but you survived. So Aslan rewarded you, or so you think. And he's peering over all of you, looking back and forth between the five of you. If I'm getting any part of the story wrong, please feel free to correct me.
I would say that is a possible interpretation of the events of our arrival.
Now, that's basically what Evie's been suspecting. Someone was basically inventing stuff to put in front of us to see if it would kill us.
Aslan is trapped in Darkon. It is a prison. He's yearned to escape from it for centuries. There was a time he and I were allies of a sort, where our experiments went hand in hand. I learned a lot from him, and he from I, about the mists. He has a way to escape, but he cannot use it, not directly. My spies inform me that one of you is a magical engineer.
Yes. I'll raise my hand.
From his
The
cloak,
spies are well informed.
he pulls out a scroll case, and he hands it to you.
Uh-huh.
I have withheld and redacted certain information on that schematic, but the relevant pieces of it will be readable to you, I hope.
Is he expecting me to look at it right now?
Yeah, he's handing you the scroll case.
Yeah, because I was supposed to say because I am.
Okay. I mean, when you pull it out, so imagine you wanted, like, you had a schematic for a design of a magical apparatus, and you wanted somebody to have enough information to understand some of its workings, but not enough to build the thing themselves.
Right.
That's what you have in your hand.
Okay.
He tells you that it's a machine called the Rift Spanner, and asks if there's anything you can glean by looking it over.
Okay. I will study the device.
How long do you spend studying the schematic here? I mean, are you glancing over it in a couple seconds, or are you taking a couple minutes and going over the spyglass?
Yeah, that.
Yeah, okay.
Like,
Give me an Arcana check.
Okay.
Intelligence Arcana.
Is this a thing I can use blips on?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, 4 blips.
Okay. I like erasing blips from.
Well, the last time you were like,
hold
"Hey,
on. Before you use blips, take my reroll and try re-roll it.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, because you have that class feature.
Yeah, I don't think I've used it, have I?
More like ass feature.
Well, that's a 29.
And it's frustrating because Strahd was telling the truth. This schematic, you couldn't build this thing from this schematic. There's not enough information about what kind of materials you need, about what kind of spell work would have to be done to build it. You could physically build a structure that looks like it, and you have some information about what each of the pieces do. There's a chair with straps attached to a foundation around which is a large spiral of... from the schematic, you can't tell. It could easily be cloth as easily as it could be strips of metal. No way to know. But there's tubing that runs out of the chair in the front and the back that are 2 different types of materials, but again, you have no way of knowing what materials they are.
Mm-hmm.
There's a number of things you could imagine a machine like this could do. Like, you could strap somebody down in a machine like this and flip a mechanism to open a wound and drain them of their blood. Or you could just as easily have a device where you put them in a chair and the tubing is actually meant to, like, pump in steam as, like, a torture device to cook somebody alive. You can imagine any number of horrible things you could do with this. You can't really imagine anything good you could do with this.
And this is somehow related, and I'll ask Strahd, and this is somehow related to Aslan Rex's escape plan?
He tells you the Rift Spanner is not a machine of Azalin's design. It was given to him. He constructed it to the proper specifications, but he has not been able to power it.
Is that why he's interested in our house relics as a potential way to power it? Jeannie's talking to herself,
Okay.
not necessarily to Strahd. She's just
None
thinking
of us-
out loud.
None of us know the genie has no blood, right?
I think all of
No,
you know
you-
that.
You know that, but none of you know that.
None of you know why.
Yeah.
But Jeannie, you could use this schematic to build a machine that can drain someone of their blood. That's something you could... Or replace their blood with something.
Do you know what he's trying to power it with?
He tells you that the Rift Spanner is powered with there's not really a word for it in
Souls?
Barovian or in Darkanese. But he describes a sort of essence that means, in one sense, magic, and in another sense, soul. In Ferniscan terms, it would be similar to talking about like the spirit a person contains, the part of you that lives on in Air's great kingdom upon your death, that would ascend the crystal tower into the skies.
Is this thing so are you saying that this thing would siphon someone's soul if they're strapped in it?
He looks to Edmont. You are a man of magical means. If you were to sit in the chair and the machine were properly activated, the part of you that controls your magic, that is able to cast spells, do supernatural things, would bond with the part of you that is your everlasting spirit. And the machine would drink it and store it in a basin. Azalin intends to do this to all of you, as he has done to so many in the past. Or have you never asked yourselves, who occupied your village before it was given to you?
Oh, we ask that every day.
Hundreds of times we've asked that question.
It's becoming a little bit disconcerting, to be perfectly honest.
Azalin will come to you. He will tell you about the Rift Spanner. He will tell you that he has constructed it in order to send you home to the world where you're from. Whatever world that is does not interest me, and I assure you it does not interest Azalin. And the first of you, the bravest, he motions to Edmont, will be strapped down first, and to the rest of you it will look as though the apparatus had worked. The bonds would go slack, the chair would be empty, and your dear friend Edmont will have vanished from before your eyes. And Azalin will decree, it has worked. All of you go first, and I shall follow after.
I don't think
You're
any of us
in
would have
charge of this
believed
device.
that.
And if you don't believe that, and you refuse, he will force you. He has those means.
I
And if
do
you-
believe that.
And if you manage to resist him, and he decides you are of no use to him, well, obliteration. One way or the other.
Can he be killed?
And he'd be thwarted.
You cannot kill what is already dead.
Can we bring him back to life and then kill him?
Victor, that is a
Victor, do you know who you're talking to?
Out of character, I do. In character, no.
Strahd tells you that if you agree with Azalin's plan, you're going to die. His machine is going to obliterate you. If you don't agree with Azalin's plan, he will count you as an enemy, and you will die. He will obliterate you.
And you just told us that he can't be killed. So,
So you need powerful allies if you wish to stay alive.
allies like yourself. Do you wish his lands?
I have no designs on Darkon. It is a vast and empty place, devoid of life, devoid of people. Holds no interest to me.
Then we're all the people. So I'll ask Strahd. I have noticed something that people seem to kind of filter in, and their memories seem to change. Is that what's up with that?
He tells you that these are aspects of the mists that he and Azalin studied many, many years ago. He does not have an explanation for it, and you should be very, very wary of anybody who tells you they have one.
So, Strahd, if I may call you Strahd, you seem to want us to ally towards what ends? Just frustrating Azalin until we die of natural causes?
Whether Azalin escapes or Azalin does not escape, whether he succeeds or fails, whether he obliterates you or not, means nothing to me. Not one twig, not one sheep, not one peasant in Barovia will will have their lives changed or altered by any of those things or the lack thereof. However, it would bring me great pleasure to have the knowledge that Aslan has emptied the basin of his rift spanner uselessly.
So you get personal satisfaction out of this alliance.
Well, what is your suggestion that we do exactly?
One of the things we learned as travelers filtered into Barovia from many other worlds, magic users from each world have a sort of signature to them. If you know what to look for, you can tell. My spies inform me that your particular form of magic requires the use, and he motions towards your house relics, of these baubles and treasures. Would it shame you to hear that this would be considered a restriction amongst magic users from other worlds?
We suspected as much when we saw that Aslan was able to use magic without any such device.
We know it's a restriction because that's in the past.
That's what Air has decreed. No,
Yeah, like we know it's a
my brother
restriction.
would know better, but
Yeah.
And the machine itself has no intelligence. It does not know whether the person sitting in the chair needs to be siphoned into its basin or whether the machinery needs to be inverted to power the machine and send the person sitting there onward to their home world. The genius of the machine is that it reads the signature of your magic. It knows when a man of... Forgive me, I don't know the name of the country you come from. But Aslan... You tell him?
I don't tell him.
You don't tell him?
I don't.
Aslan is from the world of Oerth. In all my years, meeting travelers from other worlds and other planes coming to Barovia, Aslan is the only man of Oerth to ever cross the mists here. The Rift Spanner knows that signature. If a man of Oerth were to sit there and the basin were full to the correct specifications, Aslan could use it to escape. I propose to introduce you to a very powerful magic user, originally born of Oerth, who would have the same signature Aslan does. I propose that you agree to help Aslan in his plan, and when you travel to Castle Avernus, to sit this man first in the chair. And it will not obliterate him, but will send him onward, consuming 100 years worth of magic that Aslan has painstakingly acquired.
I mean, if we're gonna die anyway...
What's part C of this plan?
That is the plan in the entirety. Aslan fails to escape. The Rift Spanner is emptied. I believe, though I cannot prove, that this would also bring some solace to the people of Darkhan, for the mists would retreat, and the land that is now broken would become more whole, at least for a time.
And for sabotaging his plans, Aslan would do what to us?
Do you want us to say Strahd says hi after we do this?
If that is your desire.
So,
I'm not seeing how this has much benefit to us. It kind of seems like a good way for us to die.
You are wily and resourceful people. I believe that should you desire it, you could pull this off without letting Aslan know that you are in on the conspiracy.
Would this weaken Aslan? Or just frustrate him?
Both. But I hesitate. I hesitate to tell you that it would weaken him in any mortal way. Even a very weakened Aslan is dangerous. I've armed you now with the schematic of the machine and with the knowledge of Aslan's plan, and I would make an introduction to you if you desire it.
So
If we were to act against Aslan, there are other things we would need to know first.
You're asking us to risk the life of this other man from Worth, you called it?
This man's life is... I admit I don't have all the pieces. It's a long story. I believe him to be older and more powerful in the art than Aslan himself.
Who is this man?
And at this, he reaches in the other side of his cloak. And he pulls out what at first looks like a pendant or an amulet. But instead of a jewel hanging at the end of it, it is like a clump of resin, glowing orange and red in the firelight. And at first, it almost gives it a quality that looks like an eye. Orange and red on the outside, and then very dark to the center. But the pupil of the eye, as he holds it up dangling from the edge of a chain, and it turns around, it's not a small pinpoint of a pupil. It's an almost imperceptibly tiny humanoid figure.
He's kind of small, isn't he?
He sleeps. I know not for how long. But I have confirmed that the man has the same sort of magical signature as Aslan does. This is a man of Earth.
Did you imprison him in that gem yourself?
And he shakes his head. Says, I was given this as a gift from a traveler who came through Barovia not 1 year past.
It's nice to see Barovia as screwed up as Darkon.
I believe if you were to take this object back into Darkon, the imprisonment would prevent Aslan from knowing he has entered. He has no way of knowing who he is or where he's from. He will only have your word to go on.
And this man, you think when he's freed, he'll have information?
It's difficult to say.
Will he know that he's from Oerth?
He may know any number of things. He may be exceedingly dangerous or entirely docile. He may be cooperative or not. He may be overly hostile. He may be completely consumed with madness and child or baby-like in his mannerisms. There's no way to know until you let him out.
Victor holds his hand out to take it.
And he reaches forward and drops it, and the thing is very warm in your hand. Warm the way a body would be.
What does the Lord of Barovia gain? You've already said that you don't desire his lands, you don't desire any of his riches.
He gets personal satisfaction, Edmont. Just like I'm going to get when we find out who killed Tech Tech.
He tells you it would give him great pleasure to know that Aslan has emptied his machine to no avail. That he has more centuries ahead of him of tricking adventurers and magic users to sit in this Rift Spanner chair.
He gets to say a cross-realm fuck you.
While we're here, do you know anyone else we could reach out to for assistance in this? And do you know of any ways to escape the mist back to the world where we came from?
He tells you that he would not admit anyone in Barovia to offer you any assistance. He cannot have Aslan knowing that he's had a hand in this at all. As to your path out of the mists, his suggestion is to attempt to use the Rift Spanner. Find a way to wrest it from Aslan's grip. Use it before he can. Either way, the spanner will then be empty, and he will remain trapped.
You seem to know a great deal about Aslan. You said that you were once his friend.
I did not say I was his friend. He leans
ally.
forward with his hands digging into the side of the wooden chair he's sitting in. We were allies of convenience for a time.
Then you may know some of the limits of his power, some of his blind spots that would allow us to operate in ways that he could not easily detect.
Oh, he has many
Sure.
flaws.
What can you share with us?
Absolutely nothing. If I were to tell you of Aslan's flaws, you would consider yourselves canny enough to attempt to make use of them. Of course, you would be wrong, because you are mortals. And then the plan would fall apart, and he would obliterate you, and then he would escape on his rift banner, and I would not take great pleasure in that. If you are strong enough, smart enough, clever enough to learn Aslan's weaknesses on your own, you may put that knowledge to whatever end you decide, but you will not have it from me.
Very well.
Fair enough. Your hospitality is very, very much appreciated. But I do wonder how long you will allow us to stay in this realm.
He doesn't see any reason that you shouldn't depart as soon as you're rested. When you arrive back down in the foothills, you will find the Vardo waiting for you to take you back. He will allow you to travel through the mists back into Darkon, and after that, the Shroud of Barovia will be closed to you forevermore.
Would you allow us to see a city before we leave, to see how other people in this realm live?
He shakes his head. There's nothing for me to gain from doing that.
Do you have any information you can share on things like curses and such?
A great deal, he imagines. Again, though, he has nothing to gain from sharing any of that.
All right. Jeannie's looking at the device schematics again. She rolls them up and puts them in her scroll bandolier.
Your business, therefore, concluded. So you have the scroll case. Victor, you have the jewel.
Yes.
And at this, he stands up. It was my pleasure and honor to host House Veritas for a time. I will formally apologize for the dreariness of the venue, but it could not be avoided.
One question. How will you know when we've succeeded?
He's informed you that he has spies in Darkon, but he's not willing to elaborate any further than that.
Well, I can say that you have been the most gracious host that we've been under since we've traveled through the mists.
And he nods once. Does anybody have anything else for Lord Strahd?
Oh, I think I'm good.
If we do this for you, then would we consider Lord Strahd von Zarevich to owe House Veritas a favor?
He chuckles. Says, no, you should not presume that.
I had to try.
And when he takes his leave of you, closes the tent flap from outside, you hear the wind whipping up. And when the tent flap opens again, he is gone.
That was distressing.
Well,
We're not
Said
going to
out
talk
of dawn.
about,
What
we're
do you
not going
say?
to talk about any of that here. He can still hear us, I think.
You say we. What do you say we set out at dawn?
Dawn is only a couple of hours away at this point.
Evie's just kind of pacing back and forth out here.
Hey, Victor, try establishing a psychic connection to the small man in the amber.
that's a brilliant idea, Jeannie. Victor will attempt to do this.
It doesn't say that the creature has to be conscious.
So, Victor, plugging into somebody else's mind, usually this is a very there's a very narrow gap between your mind and the other person's, and the only things that pass through that gap is communications, thoughts that are projected. Because you can't use this ability to say, detect somebody's thoughts or to read minds or to try to exert any control over them. It is strictly telepathy.
Yep.
So it's very unnerving because you kind of have a sense for what a brain feels like, right? You spent your whole life honing this ability, and you talk to human people who have been alive for maybe a couple of decades or so. The connection formed with the consciousness inside of this jewel feels impossibly deep and impossibly ancient. And just the fact that you can feel that is troubling. Usually this communication feels like you and the other person are like peeking through a long pole or a long pipe that your eye hole is looking through. This feels like you've been dropped into a huge dark chasm, and this consciousness surrounds all sides of you, and you can't maintain it for too long, and you back out.
Guys, we should go soon. I want to see what he has to say.
How do we? Oh, well, I was kind of hoping he could tell you how we could get him free.
I think we just have to take him to our realm and see if that breaks the whatever this is.
We were told that like if we take him into the realm in the amber, then Aslan, it will like shield him from Aslan knowing he's in the realm. Is that
what Strahd said is if you take him imprisoned in the jewel, Aslan will have no idea that he's entered with you.
Okay.
You don't know how he knows this, but that's what he said.
That implies that Aslan knows that we've been moving back and forth.
I'm sure he does.
And Victor.
Yeah.
Holding this jewel, no matter where you put it on your person, you feel a sense of discomfort. It's like having a cell phone in your shirt pocket that the battery is a little too warm. Like you're just always really conscious of it being there.
Fun. Okay. At least I'll be warm.
Very least we can set out after we've taken a few hours of rest, can we not?
So you're going to take a few hours rest here in the pavilion and then set down the mountain in the morning?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, it sounds like.
Okay. At dawn, as you pass down the mountain path, the front door of the tower is blown outward. And the two dead men are inside on the bottom floor. One of them having ignited a keg of gunpowder. And you can see where they'd been scuffling and fighting even before then.
Is there any more gunpowder in the tower? I'm going to look for some.
I already gave you one keg of gunpowder. That's all you're getting.
I'll get greedy, Treble.
Eugenie's like, where the hell did they hide?
Like, you remember when years and years ago, McLean got greedy and asked for gunpowder? Look how well that turned out for him.
Yeah, Destil had a gun the entire last campaign. Turned out great.
So that's it. We're heading back down the mountain.
Unless anything of interest pops up on the way.
I mean, you've killed all the things of interest.
Yeah.
On the way up. And just as Strahd said, when you get to the bottom, the base of the foothills, after climbing down for a couple of hours, Avardo is waiting for you. A different one than the one that brought you here, with different pair of Vistani inside. And they're very distant. They give you cold, flat, short answers to any questions. They drive you forth. You are enveloped by mists. And when you exit, you are back near the site of the oldest, under the shade of the tree.
Jesus Christ, that was terrifying. Well, I guess praise air. Praise air, that was terrifying.
Thank the Vistani for their assistance in traversing the mist, and then wait for them to depart before we even start thinking about this this amber pendant that Victor has.
Yeah, this pendant doesn't like suddenly transform on my neck, does it?
Are you wearing it on the chain around your neck?
Yeah.
Then no, it's just you. So you're always conscious of it being there, and you haven't tried to sleep at all. You guys just rested for a few hours, ate the food, had some coffee.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So you're all fairly tired from traveling. You got a couple of hours, or no, it was a couple of days, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a couple of days
Yeah.
there and back. So Victor, on the journey back, you're unable to sleep with this thing resting around your neck. At some point, if you're going to sleep, you're going to have to remove it and set it aside, or put it in your pack away from you. But you find that you can't fall asleep wearing this thing. You had directed Abernathy to start putting together a village militia, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
His first and most eager volunteers are the men that you had interrogated under suspicion of Tektek's murder.
And Abernathy let them join up?
He had no reason not to.
Wouldn't we have told Abernathy what we thought?
I'm assuming that you did, but you also did that investigation and interrogation, and there was nothing found. They were,
Yeah.
as far as anybody knows, they're completely innocent.
We're going to have to do some follow-ups. I actually have an idea for next time for how we might be able to get a little more information.
Okay. So, last two questions for this session. First, Jeannie, what, if anything, do you do with this schematic? Are you keeping it on your person, adding it to your archives, making 3,000 copies and mailing them to Aslan? What are you doing?
Well, right now I'm keeping it on my person.
Okay.
It's basically it's on the little bandolier she keeps spell scrolls on.
Okay. And the second question is, Victor, what, if anything, is done with the amber, the jewel?
After we get back to the castle, Victor will start trying to figure out how to free the dude from inside.
You don't have any idea how to do that, but I mean, you have Ekon and Jeannie at hand, who are both avid researchers. You think with enough time and investigation, this is something you could crack.
What was the device called?
The Rift Spanner.
Okay,
And it's
thank you.
supposedly in the bowels of Castle Avernus. But more presently, like, what do you do with the physical objects? Does Victor continue to carry it with him?
Yeah, he's gonna make sure that no one else gets it.
Okay.
So he's gonna wear it on his person most of the times. Basically, want to take it off to sleep.
Victor, over the next few days and traveling back to the village in the first day or so back, you seem to have this sense, no matter where you are, in the middle of the village, in one of the common houses, in one of the halls of the manor house, you always have this sense, this realization that you're trapped. You're in a cage. You're locked up. And only when you remove the medallion at night to sleep do you feel that weight lifted, that you are free again.
Fun. Victor will start talking to the man in the amber, letting him know that we're trying to get you out. Don't worry, we're gonna do it. It's gonna be okay.
I'm picturing, like, Victor doing this. I'm picturing Al Swearingen and Deadwood talking to the chief's head in the box.
Basically.
All right. I'm going to go dark for 2 minutes while I add up some experience points. If you guys want to think about some blips, I'll be back in just a few minutes.
Who was the most creative today?
That is Edmont. For like, we start to discuss things, and he's like, "Nah, I'm just gonna go pick this man's pocket while invisible."
Yeah, sure.
Who furthered the party's goals the most today?
Victor.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Being
For what?
useful despite not. No, for the voice. The voice is in the head. Applied schizophrenia?
Who's a badass?
That let me see. I want to give that. I want to give both the other two blips for. I want to give badass to. If somebody has something else, speak up because I'm gonna put forward Edmont for both the other blips. Badass is for the teleporting behind you jokes. Those are always funny to me. And the
Be able to kill somebody with that. I can't just do it and then roll a 1.
I was gonna go badass for one-shotting the monkey, but I think Edmund needs more blips.
and then the other one for the mousetrap, the intangibles for the mousetrap. Because we can't we can only
keep that on my character sheet.
we can only roll well when we only roll 20s when it's dumb shit.
Yeah.
So like obviously the first time he uses his super awesome sleight of hand and rolls a 20, he gets a mousetrap.
So, the only difference between the two men is one was like a tinkerer and the other was a woodsman.
Mm-hmm.
And in my notes, I have that they don't carry any actual treasure. They just kind of carry junk around in their pockets. But neither of them had a key. So when he used his sleight of hand to fish around in his pocket, I immediately thought, like, what's the funniest thing he could find in his pocket? And that a tinkerer might be carrying around. So a mousetrap.
Mousetrap. The trap is set too, which is he's carrying that around. It's like that's some bonkers shit.
It's only 1 damage, but it does erode the strength of the party.
Are you sure there's no cheese in there too?
And the notes did say that if you abandon the guys and just tried to climb up into the tower, kind of ignoring them, they would eventually kill each other. Because, especially if you tried to reunite them. Other options would be like you could side with one over the other, but that still wouldn't have gotten you the key. I didn't really write a way to like save both of the guys in a satisfying way.
I mean,
But I guess it wouldn't have been impossible.
We did try though.
They
You tried a
died as
little
they
bit.
lived. They died as they lived.
You frog marched one of them into the other one's house, and then like, yeah, we're done with these guys, and you left. Which, you
And
know,
then
nobody's blaming you. That's what any reasonable person would have done.
Like they died as they lived, stupidly.
Thank you for finally saying Victor is reasonable.
The interaction with those two
Marcus,
guys
right.
is based on there's a Planescape adventure where there's 2 camps of rogue Modrons. Well, there's 2 camps of Modrons. One of them is a group of rogue Modrons, and one of them isn't. And the party has to try to figure out which is which. And the book, because the rogue Modrons have to be exterminated. But the book is like, doesn't tell you which is which, and just says like, just wait until the end of the adventure and then pick one. Let the players just go back and forth frustrated between these 2 camps. You didn't kill the 2 men. So that's good. It's not your fault that they blew up. All right, everybody has for the 5 Giralons, and you did not go in and slaughter all their babies. Good job.
Yeah. No. None of that.
The babies will, of
They
course,
starve.
all die of exposure now, but there's no one to feed them anymore.
There was a couple of adult ones that came in and grabbed bodies.
No, one of them grabbed the body into the cave and then immediately came back out to attack Orson again.
Oh,
To try to chase you guys off.
Oh,
No, there were 2 adults in that one cave and then 3 in the other one. So 916 experience points, 916 for the encounter. I'm sorry, that's not correct.
Did you divide incorrectly?
I did divide incorrectly. I am a stupid. 1,100 experience each. You had 5.
Did you calculate for 5 players instead of 4?
I did. I calculated for 6 instead of 5.
Ah, right. Yeah.
Oh, Orson bleeds your experience points.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
For sure. Yeah, 1,100 experience points. My apologies. 1100. Who wants to make a case for some blips?
I can go.
Genie.
When in doubt, go with your gut for telling everybody to back up, except for Victor when he was going to try and pick the magical lock because, well, it's probably trapped, and I don't want anybody else to get caught into it.
What would have happened if they flipped that switch?
It would have produced a cloud of poisonous mists that you were immune to because you drank the Vistani antidote.
Practical solutions to impractical problems, or instead of taking the 1 hour
Rest.
the 1 hour rest, going out and like checking like the obvious spots, like where did they leave these keys? Did they leave it in the front door, or just and then my flaw, don't worry about it, it was just a setback for pocketing the gunpowder. Don't worry about that. That's obviously not going to be a problem later.
Obviously not.
And then the video.
So Strahd took the key back from them and just chucked it in the river because he doesn't actually care about this door at all. So the only thing I had to think of is like, did the river carry that key away at any point in the past however many years? Or did it just sink there? I thought it would just be... I thought about it. Like, it would be funny if they climbed down and tried to delve into this river to find this key. But I looked at the clock and I'm like, I don't think we've got an hour to run that encounter. So no key anywhere. In response to Evie's locate object.
Always appreciate you having to go, what's in 1,000? How far is 1,000 feet, and what is in 1,000 feet? Every time one of us casts that dumbass spell.
Right. Because my thought is like, okay, he pitches the key off the bridge. It's going to be down here in the water, right? That's like within 1,000 feet, sure. But if I told you that, you guys would be climbing down the cliffs.
Absolutely.
Dredging into this
true.
river.
Yeah.
And I would have like...
one scene in Suikoden too, when Shu throws the coin into the river.
But I did. If we were earlier in the night and I had an hour to just cook up a quick encounter down there, we would have done that. But it was funnier for there not to be a key.
Yes.
All right, who's next?
I guess I can go.
Victor.
So for alignment, ends justify the means. That would be killing those creatures, knowing they were probably just defending themselves. But, they attacked us, so.
They were going to knock you off that bridge. If you tried to cross that bridge without... They would have come out and tried... And then you had to be making strength saving throws or fall off the bridge. And
Well, I was going to tie a rope around the bridge just in case it's, collapse or something. But, yeah.
Well, it was already a rope bridge.
Well, no, he was going to, secure himself. But thankfully...
Tie yourself to the bridge?
Yeah, basically.
So you just dangled there into the ravine? What else you got?
Rocks at?
So ideal, seek the truth no matter the cost. That would be interrogating the gate guards to try and get all the information.
Did you feel like you got to the truth?
What truth there was. Sometimes there is no truth.
That these guys were just both assholes. Is that it?
It's funny because Strahd and Aslan aren't really any different.
That's true. That's 100% true. That's a great parallel to draw.
And for the flaw, values knowledge over people, that would be just walking up and announcing Evie at the gatehouse, fully expecting that somebody was going to shoot stuff.
Which worked at the first gatehouse because Strahd was going to admit you onto the mountain, but you were supposed to have his honor guard of ghouls and stuff behind him. All of which the Gug
That
ate.
makes sense.
Does that mean the key was in the Gug?
No, you would have still had to found a way up and across the bridge.
That's all three I got.
Who's next?
I can go.
What do you got?
Okay, you mess with my family, you mess with me for being very pointed with Strahd about how this going through with his plan would probably be very dangerous for her family. Next, ideal, I must become a leader that others can believe in for, kind of using her magic to cut the bullshit between Lisa and Gaza and, kind of force them to admit that neither of them had the key.
Neither of them ever admitted that.
Okay, well, that was the conclusion we came to. And Flaw, no one understands, for using all of her spells to find a key that did not exist.
That's pretty funny. I mean, it does exist somewhere. The river carried it away. I don't know where it is now.
Okay, she took 2 short rests to use all those spells, and it didn't find the key.
That just leaves Sunglasses Guy.
I have my alignment, lawful neutral, take everything you can, give nothing back. I've written that mousetrap on my character sheet.
Gonna come in handy, don't worry.
There's gonna be a cranium rat encounter or something, and Edmond's gonna go, aha!
I got this. I got this.
No, we are absolutely going to find some way to use that mousetrap. It's going to be the linchpin to bringing down Aslan's scheme.
Fantastic.
We're going to replace one of the pieces in his machine with the mousetrap, and he's going to reach in, what the hell? Stab. Like, Veritas, we're here.
This might be a little bit of a stretch, but life is my canvas, and I'll make my mark on it. For being very decisive in just like, okay, these guys are gonna, do their own thing and be like, interrogate the guy. And I was just like, no, I'm gone. I'm just gonna go and pick this guy's pockets.
That did make an impression on on that encounter. Yes.
Okay.
Especially since Victor beefed it afterward.
Victor did what you did, but worse.
And then my flaw: this world is filled with predators and prey, and I sure as hell am not the prey for going ham sandwich on the gorillamans.
On the mountain apes.
Yeah, because I was always teleporting around to get into the thick of it.
Okay. Who had the most creative solution to a problem?
That was Edmont for casting invisibility to go and pickpocket the man's mousetrap.
Hold on, I'm having trouble with straw poll. The poll didn't get created.
What?
I know, right? I'm gonna make another one real quick. The website just didn't do it.
Can't you do a Twitch poll maybe, or is Twitch polls just busted or something?
I could. I don't know how to do that though. I could probably learn. You're not wrong. There we go. I think it worked this time. All right. Sorry about that. Who furthered the party's goals the most?
That was Victor for directed schizophrenia.
And who was the badass?
That was Edmont for the what is it called? The teleporting behind you jokes.
And then one for intangibles.
That was for the pickpocketing the
mousetrap.
That was the mousetrap.
You're giving Edmont all the blips.
Yeah. So
consent to this, but I won't say no either.
You did not consent.
Did not consent. But listen, no, that was a great intangible moment because we can't roll 20s unless we're doing dumb shit. So he thought he was doing something good, rolled a 20. Nope. Dumb shit.
It's pretty intangible. And Jeannie has on the poll.
Hey.
Okay. So blips are worth. We're level 9 now, yes?
Oh, one more blip for me for being an initiative nerd in Destil's absence.
You are a nerd.
Yeah.
You talked a lot about Star Trek. Like a lot about Star Trek.
Oh, there was a lot of Star Trek, yes.
Like
But
way more Star Trek than is reasonable. Blips are worth 533 each if you roll them over. Edmund, you have 7 blips. You can only take 2, so you're rolling over at least 5. I'm sorry, you can only take 1. You're rolling over 6.
I will do that because I just gained a level, so I'm nowhere near one.
Okay.
You said 533.
Yeah. Evie, you have 6 and earned 3. You like to come in next week with 6?
Yes, there's within a couple levels I would be able to spend them to get a level, but or not yet.
Jeannie, you have 5 and you earned 5, so you're rolling over.
No, I used 4.
You didn't.
No, you didn't.
Evie gave you a reroll.
Oh no, he
Yeah,
was
there's a
right. He
reroll.
gave
You
me a
didn't-
reroll. I
So
forgot about
You
that.
had 5 and
Okay.
you just earned 5. Victor,
Okay.
you had 6 and you earned 4.
It's 4. All right.
And
I had already marked those blips down. Just gone.
No, that's why I have that power. It's a really good power. It saved us a lot of blips.
Thankfully, one of us is keeping accurate records of your blips.
Correct. I appreciate you, Brick Road.
All right, so next week we'll come in and we'll see what you guys do with this weird jewel with a tiny man in it.
57, 8, 15.
Bye,
Nothing bad will
everybody.
come out of that.